Ali naraščajoče temperature zemeljske ekosisteme ženejo proti točki, odkoder ni vrnitve?
We can't go back. There's no path backwards.
Every year, the damages are worse.
Imamo obetavne tehnike in tehnologije, ki rešitve približujejo na doseg naših rok, pa te dovolj iztezamo?
We have to have emissions cut to zero.
Even if we stop emitting CO2, we still have the CO2 we've already emitted.
Znanstveniki zato gradijo novo orodje, da bi omogočili lepo prihodnost.
Our society has to survive.
We need to reduce the heating effect.
Najnaprednejše rešitve.
It's going to be revolutionary.
It's like science fiction.
There's the balloon up in the air.
In kočljive ukrepe.
I really hope we'll never have to do this.
It's really important that humanity has a backstop.
Vsi hitijo, da bi ugotovili, ali naš planet lahko ohladimo.
It's a new time in the Earth's history in which we're not just inhabiting our planet, we're operating as stewards of the very thing that we're living on.
Človeštvo od industrijske revolucije v zemeljskem ozračju izvaja nenačrtovan poskus. Podnebje žene v nove skrajnosti.
Things are going to get hot.
Oh, you feel the heat? This is insane. Oh my god.
Attitudes have changed rapidly because everyone can see for themselves the climate change that is occurring.
Otroci, ki se rojevajo zdaj, bodo v življenju videli, kako naraščajoče temperature spreminjajo Zemljo. Kako smo se znašli v tem položaju?
Every time you get in your car, every time you fly a plane, every time you turn the heat on, all of those things are putting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And if there's more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, there's a higher temperature.
In zdaj so se temperature začele skokovito dvigati.
If we keep pumping billions of tons of CO2 into the atmosphere each year, we really will cook ourselves, literally in the end.
Če hočemo preprečiti najhujše posledice segrevanja Zemlje, moramo izpuste nemudoma in korenito zmanjšati.
The developed nations of the world need to go from the energy system they have now to one that emits nothing, zero, in 30 years' time. The good news is we know how to do that. Renewables now are the cheapest form of electricity on 2/3 of the Earth's surface, and it's going to be everywhere.
Poraja se svet brez ogljične energije, vendar se posledice podnebnih sprememb porajajo hitreje.
Lasers are at power. There it is.
Znanstveniki zato v tem boju odpirajo drugo fronto. Predstavljajo nove tehnike in tehnologije za boj proti podnebnim spremembam.
We now have so much data. This is going to be a game changer.
There are a whole class of solutions to actually get this job all the way done.
Za odstranjevanje ogljikovega dioksida iz ozračja.
This little guy, this is just the beginning.
Za spreminjanje ogljikovega dioksida iz odpadkov v vire.
We see this kind of as a testing ground.
In celo skrajne ukrepe, kot je obramba pred sončnimi žarki.
There's been a technical revolution in the last few years that's unlike anything we've seen in the previous 100. This is a problem with a solution.
Lahko nov val podnebnih tehnik in postopkov nastavi globalni termostat na nižjo vrednost.
We need to look at everything that's out there. Natural solutions, CO2 sequestration, solar geoengineering. There may be this idea out there that nobody has come up with it that could be really transformative.
Lahko ohladimo Zemljo? Za ohladitev Zemlje moramo preprečiti, da bi v ozračje vstopilo še več ogljikovega dioksida in ugotoviti, kako iz njega odstraniti tistega, ki je že v njem. Toda o kakšnih količinah pravzaprav govorimo?
Imagine you filled the National Mall all the way from the Lincoln Memorial to the Capitol steps with coal. and you piled it up all the way to the top of the Washington Monument 10 times, that would be a gigaton of coal. Giga means billion, so that's a billion tons. Now, we actually burn 10 times that much carbon every year. People actually go dig that stuff up out of the ground, 10 billion tons of it, and set it on fire in power plants, in engines, in factories all over the world. And then, because that carbon is reacted with oxygen, 10 gigatons of carbon is burned, but it creates 37 gigatons of CO2.
Ob zdajšnjem tempu je to le enoletna količina izpustov. Če hočemo omiliti posledice segrevanja Zemlje, teh izpustov sploh ne sme biti. Vendar je tu še ena težava. Gigatone, ki so že v ozračju.
The single most important fact about climate change is that the carbon dioxide that we emit into the atmosphere stays there for thousands of years.
Leto za letom živimo z ogljikovim dioksidom, ki ga dodajamo postopoma. Od začetka industrijske revolucije smo ustvarili že skoraj 1000 gigaton izpustov.
Almost everything we emit stays there. It's staying there until you do something about taking it out.
Odstranjevanje ogljikovega dioksida iz ozračja. Zveni futuristično, vendar smo na to težavo že naleteli.
Remember Apollo 13? It was all about CO2 filtering, right? That was the big problem, how to get the CO2 out of the air.
Leta 1970 posadka Apollo 13 po nesreči ni pristala na Luni. Astronavti so se morali na Zemljo vrniti v manjši kapsuli, to pa je ustvarilo veliko težavo.
You're in confined spaces, people exhale CO2, you need to remove that CO2.
Količina ogljikovega dioksida se je z vsakim izdihom povečevala in vse bolj zastrupljala zrak.
Okay, now let's everybody keep cool, let's solve the problem and let's not make it any worse by guessing.
Astronavti so preživeli, ker so zračni filter predelali tako, da je odstranil več ogljikovega dioksida. Plošče z negativnim nabojem so v filtru polarizirale ogljikov dioksid in ga vezale nase. Tako so ga odstranjevale iz zraka. Bi lahko nekaj takega delovalo tudi v ozračju?
There's not a lot of CO2 in the air compared to nitrogen and oxygen. Imagine a box with 10,000 ping pong balls in it, and 4 of them are painted black. Those are the CO2 molecules. Trying to find those 4 balls out of that big box full of ping pong balls is hard.
Odstranjevanje ogljikovega dioksida iz vesoljskega plovila je nekaj povsem drugega kot odstranjevanje iz ozračja. To je veliko zahtevnejše. Pa je izvedljivo?
Most people to whom we told we are taking CO2 out of the air would say you are crazy. But here you see a full-scale direct air capture plant. See, it consists of 12 individual modules capturing the CO2 out of the air.
Jan Wurzbacher je soustanovitelj švicarskega zagonskega podjetja Kleinworks, ki se posveča neposrednemu zajemanju iz zraka.
From this side, we suck in ambient air with 400 ppm, that's 400 parts per million CO2. And on the other side, we expel about 100 ppm CO2 content, so 3/4 are kept inside.
Filter z zelo reaktivnimi amini prestreza celo majhne koncentracije ogljikovega dioksida. Vez na to pretrgajo s segrevanjem filtra.
You release the CO2 and you can extract pure concentrated CO2, and then you start all over again.
Pridobivanje energije zato tudi proizvede ogljikov dioksid. Rešitev za to so odpadki.
Here we are on top of the waste incineration plant. The reason why we're here is the main energy source for a process of CO2 capture from the air, waste heat from the incineration process.
Ta toplota bi šla sicer v nič, tu pa segreva filtre naprave. Ta na leto prestreže skoraj 1500 ton čistega ogljikovega dioksida, približno toliko, kolikor ga pride iz izpušnih cevi 300 avtomobilov.
Once you've pulled CO2 out of the atmosphere with a direct air capture machine, the question is what to do with it.
The big picture is taking 1% of CO2 out of the atmosphere within the next 5 to 10 years. That is roughly 400 million tons and store it underground.
Bi ogljik lahko vrnili tja, kjer smo ga našli, pod zemeljsko površje?
There are lots of rocks near the surface of the Earth that would want to bond spontaneously with CO2. There's enough of these kinds of minerals that you could remove all of the atmospheric CO2 many, many times over.
Eno najboljših območij za poskuse je Islandija.
Here we are, the land of ice and fire. We have eruptions, we have earthquakes.
Islandija je otok, ki je nastal iz bazalta, vulkanske kamnine.
We see the basaltic mountains here around me and actually extending several kilometers downwards.
Bazalt je porozna kamnina, ki se že stoletja samodejno veže z ogljikovim dioksidom. Ekipa Sandre Snabjernsdottir je ugotovila, kako ta proces lahko pospeši.
Carbfix is the method of capturing CO2 and turning it into stone. It's magic, but it's magic that already occurs in nature.
S postopkom 1/3 ogljikovega dioksida iz te elektrarne v manj kot 2 letih spremenijo v trdno kamnino. Ključna sestavina je voda. Ogljikov dioksid, ki je v plinastem stanju, v tej čistilni napravi raztopijo v vodi, da hitreje reagira z bazaltom.
This scrubber is actually just a giant soda stream.
Vodo z mehurčki nato prečrpajo v brizgalne jačke.
This is actually my favorite part of it all. From here the magic starts to happen. This pipe extends to over 2,000 feet. And there we finally release this fluid to the rock.
Raztopljeni ogljikov dioksid v bazaltu reagira s kovinami, ki so v njem, in tvori nove trdne minerale, na primer kalcijev karbonat.
Once we have injected the CO2 into the rock, it's there forever.
Sandra se že ozira onkraj Islandije. Preizkuša enoto za neposredno zajemanje zraka, ki lahko ogljikov dioksid srka povsod.
We don't need a power plant. This can be done anywhere where you have a formation to store your CO2.
What that means is you can go backwards. You can reverse the process of emitting carbon dioxide into the air.
Tehnike negativnih izpustov, kot je neposredno zajemanje iz zraka, bi lahko imele vlogo pri doseganju ogljične nevtralnosti, trenutka, ko bodo ljudje iz ozračja odstranili toliko ogljikovega dioksida, kolikor ga bodo vanj sprostili. Zakaj torej to ni končni odgovor za našo težavo z ogljikovim dioksidom?
These technologies are very hard to scale up to a meaningful amount.
The base module of our direct air capture plant, that's a 40-foot shipping container. In order to take 1% of global emissions out of the air, we would need 750,000 shipping containers.
In z njimi bi odstranili samo pol gigatone letnih izpustov.
Direct air capture is very expensive and it takes energy to suck CO2 out of the air. So I hope you're not imagining direct air capture vacuuming up the entire fossil fuel emissions of the world, because it ain't gonna happen.
Preden se bomo z neposrednim zajemom ogljikovega dioksida lahko lotili tako obsežne naloge, bomo povsod potrebovali veliko cenejšo čisto energijo. Zato nekateri raziskujejo drugačno možnost – recikliranje izpustov.
We need to think about this problem very pragmatically. We can electrify a lot of things, but there's certain parts of the energy system that are extremely hard to decarbonize.
A good example is aviation.
You couldn't build today a commercial airplane for long distances which could fly on batteries. It would just carry way too much weight.
This is physically impossible. There is no way around jet fuel.
We need to be producing fuel that when you burn that fuel, it doesn't emit carbon dioxide.
Memo, go ahead and rotate.
Aldo Steinfeld meni, da je našel rešitev.
Perfect. We are on target.
We have demonstrated that we can produce liquid hydrocarbon fuels from two ingredients: sunlight and ambient air. It may sound like science fiction or magic, but it is chemistry, is heat transfer, and also it's a lot of engineering.
Aldo ogljikov dioksid in vodo črpa iz zraka, usmerja ju v sončni reaktor.
Solar radiation is reflected and concentrated at the focus by a factor of 5,000.
It is like the intensity of 5,000 suns.
Zbrana sončna energija poganja reakcijo, ki generira sintetični plin, ki ga nato lahko pretvorimo v gorivo.
And here in my hands I have an example of solar methanol.
Ko ogljik v tem gorivu zgori, se vrne v ozračje, vendar so ga zajeli iz njega, zato je neto seštevek ogljikovega dioksida nič. To imenujemo ogljična nevtralnost. Poleg Alda si še na stotine znanstvenikov prizadeva, da bi ogljično nevtralna goriva postala realnost. Če jim bo uspelo, se bodo letni neto izpusti zmanjšali za kar 1 milijardo ton.
It's going to be something revolutionary.
Vendar so ta goriva za zdaj 6-krat dražja od običajnih. Revolucija se na tem področju šele začenja. Vseeno pa poraja vprašanje, kaj še lahko izdelamo iz recikliranega ogljikovega dioksida.
Carbon is this incredible building block. Think of it like those little sort of Lego toys that we used to have, only there's 4 little plug-ins for it. So you can bond carbon to carbon to carbon to carbon to build all kinds of stuff.
Imagine a world where everything around you is made from carbon emissions, from the products you use every day to the clothes you wear.
Ta oglas sklada X-Prize prikazuje prihodnost, v kateri naš svet oblikuje recikliran ogljikov dioksid in za njeno uresničitev ponuja $20 milijonov nagrade.
We announced, hey, there's a $20 million prize out there. We're looking for innovators around the world. If you know how to convert CO2 into a useful material, consider entering this prize. We are trying to help catalyze the whole ecosystem of companies and investors, of people that can deploy these technologies.
Sklad X-Prize je izbral 5 finalistov, da preizkusijo svoje inovacije. Namestili se bodo tu ob velikem viru ogljikovega dioksida.
They've got to take the emissions from a natural gas power plant and convert those into whatever material they like.
V zobno pasto, podloge za jogo, ure. Vsako ekipo bodo ocenili glede na neto zmanjšanje izpustov ogljikovega dioksida.
You could have a process that uses up a lot of CO2 to make its product, but in the end, just produces more CO2 than it uses up. We don't want that. We want things that actually are reducing CO2 overall.
We just moved to site about 2 weeks ago. A day later, and I think we'd have snow in here that we'd be shoveling out. So.
Abur Sinha je izvršni direktor podjetja Carbon Upcycling Technologies ali skrajšano CUT.
We're a carbon tech company, which takes carbon emissions and converts them into solid nanomaterial products for use in anything from cutlery to car parts.
Toda Apur namerava najbolj zmanjšati izpuste ogljikovega dioksida in tako zmagati z izdelavo cementa. Cement je sestavni del betona, lepilo, ki ga povezuje, vendar se pri njegovi izdelavi sprosti veliko ogljikovega dioksida.
Cement production accounts for over 8% of the world's annual emissions. If all the cement producing companies were a country, they would be the third largest emitter in the world.
Apur pa v postopek pretvarja ogljikov dioksid v potrebno sestavino betona. Prepričan je, da bo zmanjšal tudi količino cementa, ki ga potrebujejo proizvajalci betona. Začne z industrijskim odpadnim prahom, ki je ostal od gorečega premogov pepel.
With the reactor that we have behind us, we're scaling up and commercializing an enhanced fly ash, where the fly ash has been chemically activated to capture CO2. As the reactor spins the fly ash, we inject CO2. Ball bearings coated with a catalyst speed up the chemical reaction. As the ball bearings rise and fall, the motion breaks up the fly ash and roughs up the surface so that more CO2 can be absorbed.
Ko ogljikov dioksid prodira skozi površje premogovega pepela, ustvarja rove. Ogljikov dioksid se zveže s premogovim pepelom in ustvari nanodelce z večjo reaktivno površino. Ti lahko povežejo beton in ga utrdijo z manj cementa.
If concrete producers are able to use less cement in their production, they could considerably reduce the emissions that come from their industry.
Ostaja pa vprašanje, ali je dovolj močan, da bo prepričal proizvajalce betona.
We just want to make sure that the technology is good and that it works really well.
One of our local partners is a family-owned Calgary-based concrete business called Burnco.
V Brnkoju preverjajo moč betona, ki ga povezujejo Apurovi nanodelci.
When the cylinder breaks, we will have our final pressure right up there.
These are impressive results. In normal production, you're looking for changes of 3 to 4%, and these are showing results in double digits. It's very encouraging.
We're very confident that we can get up to a 10% reduction in the amount of cement used today, but our real target is to get that number up to 20 or 25%. Then we start talking about significantly moving the needle on the 37 gigaton a year number.
Toda tudi če bi lahko nove postopke izrabili 100%, bi še vedno ujele le delček naših izpustov.
The total volume of CO2 that we create in the atmosphere is so much bigger than the volume of any product. I think people are losing track of the central issue, which is we have to reduce net CO2 emissions.
The easiest thing, believe it or not, is to burn less carbon, right? To not generate the CO2 in the first place.
Brezoglične vrste energije, kot so vetrna, sončna in jedrska, lahko zmanjšajo večino naših letnih izpustov. Preostali del bi lahko izravnali s tehniko in postopki negativnih izpustov, ki iz zraka odstranjujejo ogljikov dioksid.
We will do it. We will get to the day with our big global celebrations. We get to net zero day, where we brought human CO2 emissions to zero. I think it'll happen in my lifetime. It is doable. But on that day, we have not solved the climate problem. All we've done is stop making it worse.
Problem, ki ostaja, je toplota.
The temperature of the Earth is determined by heat coming in from the sun and heat going out by radiation out to space.
Ogljikov dioksid iz naših preteklih izpustov vsak dan lovi energijo v zemeljski sistem. Ta energija je enaka energiji, ki bi se sprostila, če bi eksplodiralo 500 tisoč takih bomb, kot je bila tista, ki je padla na Hirošimo. Ta toplota spreminja naše podnebje.
What's it going to be like when, 3 months of the year are 115 degrees? When vast ecosystems have died out. People are going to push for doing something about this.
Mnogi se bojijo, da se Zemlja približuje točki preloma in da bo to sprožilo hitre spremembe.
The uncertainties that keep me up at night are, what if we aren't doing enough and there's some monster lurking behind the door that all of a sudden comes out into the world among us? It's a good idea that humanity has some sort of a backstop technology, something to do if we get surprised in a way that is very, very dangerous.
Nekateri menijo, da bi bila ta zasilna zavora lahko sončno geoinženirstvo.
It's a way to intercept sunlight coming into the planet to cool the planet.
The core idea is that humans might deliberately alter the Earth's energy balance to compensate for some of the warming and climate changes that come from greenhouse gases.
Podnebno geoinženirstvo je sporna zamisel, vendar nam narava namiguje, kje bi lahko začeli. Pri oblakih.
A cloud is just water that's condensed down onto particles into small droplets.
Te zbirke kapljic so v bistvu lebdeči odbojniki svetlobe.
Clouds play a huge role in controlling the climate because they control the reflectivity of the planet. Especially over the ocean, you go from sunlight hitting a very dark surface where a lot of the sunlight is absorbed to sunlight hitting extremely bright surface, reflecting a lot of that sunlight back to space.
Sara Doherty se pri projektu svetljenja oblakov nad morjem ukvarja s krepitvijo tega učinka.
Can we add really small sea salt particles to clouds in a way that significantly increases their brightness and do so over enough of the ocean that we would have a significant impact on the global temperature?
Toda kako izdelati delce morske vode in jih izstreliti v oblake?
What we need is a nozzle, like you see in a sort of a snowblower, except the particles that we want to produce are about 1,000th the width of a human hair.
Sara sodeluje z inženirjem, ki ve vse o napravah za pršenje zelo majhnih kapljic, s projektantom prvih brizgalnih tiskalnikov.
In a different life, I was an engineer and a physicist. I couldn't enjoy the climate anymore and just sit there, watch what's going on. Once you know what's going to happen or might happen, you can't sit down and say, yeah, I'm just going to enjoy life.
Armand s svojo ekipo upokojenih znanstvenikov že več kot 10 let razvija napravo za svetljenje oblakov.
They have been self-funding this research in borrowed lab space. Park is a really good place for them because of our history with aerosols.
Park ali raziskovalno središče v Palo Altu je k projektu za svetljenje morskih oblakov prispeval novo znanje in najsodobnejše orodje. Kate Murphy lahko v njem aerosole izdeluje iz tako rekoč vsega.
This is our deep conditioner.
Aerosoli so drobni delci, ki lebdijo v zraku.
This is ketchup.
V oblake ne bodo pršili kečapa, toda Kate lahko ekipi pomaga zasnovati šobo za brizganje morske vode.
Let me just give it a little water, okay?
Katino znanje bo pomagalo optimizirati velikost in hitrost delcev, ki jih bodo pognali v morske oblake.
So you're going to be redesigning the nozzle based on your computational fluid dynamics?
Well, we hope to be able to understand the effect of multiple nozzles, so we would want to measure things like velocity and direction.
Ti križajoči se laserski žarki lahko pomagajo razkriti, ali bo Armandova šoba zadela cilj.
Lasers are at power. Looks like our signal is pretty good.
So can you measure the vertical velocity? Do you have the measurement of that? That would be of great interest to us.
Park will be working on developing a full spray system, and then we would want to move outside into real atmospheric conditions.
Na drugem koncu sveta so se raziskave na prostem že začele. Armandova ekipa je svoje dognanja sporočila raziskovalcem v Avstraliji, ki preučujejo, ali bi s svetljenjem oblakov lahko ohladili morja okoli ogroženega velikega koralnega grebena. Projekt je usmerjen in krajevno omejen, vendar nekateri menijo, da bi svetljenje oblakov v svetovnem obsegu lahko nevtraliziralo vso toploto, ki je ujeta v naših izpustih ogljikovega dioksida.
It will probably take a good 15 to 20 years to do all of the research involved with understanding how big of an effect we could have by brightening clouds and also what all of the side effects might be.
Stranskih učinkov ne pozna nihče. Med njimi so lahko poručeno ravnotežje v ekosistemih in vzorcih padavin. Potrebne so dodatne raziskave.
We have kids, we have grandkids, we're doing it for their futures.
Yeah, and frankly, we are all in this together, whether you have kids or not. We're more than individuals. Our society has to survive.
Spoprijemamo se s težavo, ki se poglablja, ne pa izginja. Moramo razmisliti o skrajnejših ukrepih.
In 15 years, 20 years, humanity may find itself at a point where impacts are so big that there's a very large demand for fast action.
Frank Kojč se zato pripravlja že zdaj. Raziskuje sporno tehniko, ki gre dlje od svetljenja oblakov. Posvetlila bi ves planet.
Putting particles in the stratosphere could reflect back some sunlight to space, reducing the amount of sunlight that hits the surface and cooling down the planet.
Učinek bi bil takojšen.
We know this works because every time a big volcano goes off and it injects aerosols into the stratosphere, the planet cools down.
That's the idea behind solar geoengineering. It's like drawing a curtain over the face of the Earth.
The first time you hear about this, you think, well, that sounds like a really bad idea. How could that not go wrong? But what we're doing to climate as humans, that really, to me, starts seeming also quite scary and crazy and really worrying.
The fact is the CO2 is in the atmosphere. Without a time machine, we can't make it go away. We want to, in the long run, do carbon removal. But during the time that concentrations are high, we might want to do solar geoengineering to reduce the climate risk. All that is hard mounted to us.
Yes, that is exactly what I was.
And then there's the balloon up there.
Frankova in Davidova ekipa snujeta pionirski poskus, ki so ga poimenovali Scopex. Z njim želijo preučiti posledice sončnega geoinženirstva.
The only place I see that conversation getting sticky is where we do risk assessment on it.
If you put these particles out, what happens when these come back down? What happens when it gets into the environment? Are we endangering people?
There are lots of things that we might need to know where the existing experimental background is bad. You actually have to go out and make measurements.
V stratosfero nameravata poslati balon s 30 metri premera in vanjo sprostiti oblak odbojnih aerosolnih delcev.
We want to put out the particles of calcium carbonate, for example, and then go back through this plume and see whether the evolution of the air is the way we predicted based on our laboratory results. This is an experiment on a very small scale, and in fact the amount of material we're putting out is less than a normal airplane flight puts out.
Scopex je majhen poskus, toda marsikdo se boji, da bi obsežna manipulacija zemljinega ozračja lahko sprožila vrsto nevarnih in nenačrtovanih posledic, ki bi jih čutil ves svet.
Nothing in our scientific capability actually enables us to understand the complexity of the interactions that would be set loose.
It's not just that it lowers the temperature, but what are some of the other effects on the hydrologic cycle or on heat waves and droughts?
This is a manipulation of the Earth's atmosphere on a huge scale. what happens if things go wrong?
Scopex je namenjen iskanju odgovorov na ta vprašanja. Vendar bi poleg stvarnih lahko imeli tudi popolnoma nepredvidljive učinke.
If we think that there's this solution out there, then people may think, it doesn't matter if you're polluting the planet.
The root of the concern is that solar geoengineering research, however well-intentioned, will be used as an excuse for big fossil fuels to fight emissions cuts.
It's just like a sci-fi dystopian novel or something where we continue to just belch all this CO2 into the atmosphere, but hey, it's okay because we got these little umbrellas that are, hiding us from the sun.
Solar geoengineering does not get us out of the ethical and physical requirement to cut emissions.
Nekateri zaradi tolikšne negotovosti menijo, da so bolj smiselne naložbe v drugačno vrsto naprav, v takšne, kakršne je narava v svojem laboratoriju razvila pred milijoni let in ki dokazano varno vsrkavajo gigatone ogljikovega dioksida. V drevesa.
When I'm going on a hike through a forest, I have a tendency to look up and say, okay, oh, that tree's about 60 feet tall. And then I try to calculate in my head, okay, how much carbon is stored in that tree. I think this is good.
Lola Fatoimbo Aga je raziskovalka v nasinem Goddardovem središču za vesoljske polete. Z ekipo bo ta stoletna drevesa zagledala v novi luči.
There's carbon all around us. If you think of trees as a machine, then trees would be a carbon capture machine. When we're looking at trees, about half of that weight is carbon.
Lolino ekipo zanima, koliko ogljika je shranjenega v tem gozdu. Izmerili bodo prav vsako drevo. Pri tem uporabljajo prav posebno orodje – laserje.
We're using a terrestrial laser scanner that shoots out billions of laser pulses every second and then measures the distance from the instrument to whatever is around it. The data that we get back generate a point cloud.
Na milijarde točkovnih podatkov ustvari prostorsko meritev prostornine gozda in ogljika, ki je shranjen v njem.
It's so dense that it almost looks like a photograph. It's like science fiction.
Slika se lahko zdi resnična, vendar so to podatki. Razkrivajo, da drevesa, ki so na tem za nogometno igrišče velikem območju, hranijo približno 150 ton ogljika, ki so ga potegnila iz zraka. Zato se je Tom Crowther vprašal, ali bi v tekmo za lovljenje ogljikovega dioksida lahko vključili tudi drevesa.
Our lab is urgently trying to figure out how we increase the area of forest across the globe to capture as much carbon as we possibly can in the fight against climate change.
Tomova dognanja so se začela z osupljivo ugotovitvijo.
We thought there was around 400 billion trees on the planet. But we showed that there's in fact around 3 trillion trees. There's more trees on the surface of our planet than there are stars in the galaxy.
Veliko vprašanje pa se glasi, koliko dreves bi še lahko dodali.
In order to understand the global forest system, we need to map a lot of things. We need to know where forests are, where forests could be.
We collect our data from millions of locations around the world where scientists have been on the ground evaluating those ecosystems.
Podatke, kot so vzorci odpadlega listja v gozdovih.
I'm trying to understand the seasonal rhythm of plants.
Podatke o mikroskopskih organizmih, kot so drobne gliste, ki soustvarjajo zemljo pod drevesi.
There's millions and millions of nematodes living in the soil.
In dolgoletne satelitske podatke o dejavnikih, kot so padavine in temperature.
When I look at ecosystems, most of the time, I'm looking from the top down.
And with all of that data, we can start to see the patterns across the globe. Using remote sensing information from satellites and machine learning technologies, we can generate maps that can predict which regions can support new trees and which ones cannot. This really is a data revolution.
Podatki so osupljivi in možnosti za nove gozdove so neznanske.
Outside of urban and agricultural areas, there's room for about 2.5 billion acres of forest.
The area we identified equals the size of the United States. So there's a huge area available for restoration.
Dovolj prostora za 1,2 milijarde novih dreves, ki iz zraka jemljejo ogljikov dioksid.
If we were to restore 1 trillion trees, the right types of trees in the right kinds of soils, and have them grow to full health, they could store an additional 205 gigatons of carbon.
Za lažjo predstavo, v ozračje smo od začetka industrijskih dejavnosti sprostili skoraj 660 gigaton ogljika.
Restoring global forests and conserving the vital forests that we currently have could take a huge chunk out of that excess carbon. This is a really massive carbon drawdown solution, and we knew that this was going to make an enormous splash.
Ugotovitve so bile zelo odmevne.
That study is causing a lot of debate. On the one hand, a lot of people are talking about the potential of restoration of forests. On the other hand, I would say a lot of people are very upset about it. The uncertainty around the amount of carbon that's stored in trees is so high that we can't really make any informed recommendations on how many trees we need to plant.
Lola želi z novo NASIno tehniko bele lise v znanju zapolniti z otipljivimi podatki.
We have over 20 Earth observing satellites right now from NASA alone looking at our planet Earth. But what we're seeing is all in 2 dimensions. What we're missing here is the 3rd dimension.
To omogoča močno novo orodje, ki ga imenujejo GEDI. Lola lahko z enako lasersko tehniko kot je LIDAR dobi 3-dimenzionalne podatke o gozdnem ogljiku z mednarodne vesoljske postaje.
GEDI stands for the Global Ecosystem Dynamics Investigation, which is what you're seeing right here. This is about the size of a fridge. You can see the laser shooting down out of the bottom of the instrument towards the surface of the planet. We actually can see a full profile of plant materials. The game changer here is that this is going to be for the first time a near global data set.
Zaradi GEDI-ja bomo bolje vedeli, koliko ogljika bi lahko shranili novi gozdovi. Prav tako pomembno je, da lahko poišče star gozdni ogljik, ki ga moramo ohraniti.
Forests are really important for our water supply. Forests protect us from heat. Forests breathe. They breathe in some ways just like we do. When you lose a lot of the ecosystem services that forests provide, that has a direct impact on the well-being of people.
Vendar drevesa niso edini živi organizmi, ki se na vse bolj poseljenem svetu potegujejo za prostor.
We already use all of our agricultural land to feed our existing population, and over the next 30 years, food demand is going to double. If you take land to solve the climate problem, you create another problem.
Obstaja možnost, ki omogoča reševanje več težav hkrati?
Some people are looking at ways in which forests can help slow climate change. Our research is somewhat different in that we're looking at grasslands. I want to have enough so that we can do experiments.
Wendy Silver v Kaliforniji raziskuje, kako bi lahko ponore ogljikovega dioksida ustvarili tam, kjer pridelujemo svoje živila, na traviščih.
This is a classic, beautiful annual grassland. Grasslands grow in places where there's drought for part of the year. And these grasses have developed great tools for getting water, particularly by growing more roots. And anytime plants invest a lot of their energy into roots, it's like injecting carbon into the soil.
Vendar oranje ta ogljik sprosti in siromaši prst. Pridelava večjih količin hrane ustvarja še več težav.
We all eat food every day. We have to grow that food, and we create a lot of organic waste in the process.
Kadar organski odpadki ležijo na odpadu ali v jamah z gnojevko, nastaja okolje siromašno s kisikom. Tako okolje privablja določene mikrobe, ki ustvarjajo metan, toplogredni plin 34-krat močnejšim učinkom od ogljikovega
We're
dioksida.
trying to tackle three big problems: waste, degrading soil health, and climate change. We came up with something relatively simple: composting.
Pri kompostiranju živilske odpadke redno obračajo. Tako v zmes dodajajo kisik in zavirajo razmnoževanje mikrobov, ki proizvajajo metan.
It creates this organic and nutrient-rich resource, like a slow-release fertilizer, that helps plants grow.
S spreminjanjem odpadkov v hranljive snovi v kompost lahko pospešimo rast rastlin. S tem bi ogromne površine s kulturnimi rastlinami lahko spremenili tudi v velikanske hranilnike ogljika.
We now have 10 years of data showing that just a one-time dusting of compost onto the soil surface can have a long-term impact on plant growth and increase carbon storage in soils.
Wendina raziskava kaže, da že ena plast komposta lahko poveča rast rastlin za do 78% in za 3 leta poveča vsebnost ogljika v tleh za do 37%.
The real challenge is to extrapolate from little tiny soil samples in the field to big chunks of California or the globe. That's a huge challenge.
Lov na rešitve se bo nadaljeval še desetletja, zato ustavljanje izpustov ostaja naša najnujnejša naloga.
If we really didn't do anything to limit carbon emissions, we would have climate changes as big as the changes from the glacial to interglacial state, and do that in one human lifetime with huge potential impacts.
The more of a mess we make, the bigger of a mess we'll have to clean up. We, today, get to decide whether to continue along this path or to dramatically shift our economy off of coal, oil, and gas.
Every big transformative solution starts small. It starts with a couple people talking, they make a small version, they make a bigger version, more people pile in.
This is one solution, but we need thousands of solutions if we want to tackle climate change.
There's no one magic silver bullet that will solve this problem.
The main challenge that we have is that these transitions don't happen overnight.
We have the tools already, but we really have to start moving.
We need better transportation systems. We need solar power and wind power and water power and probably nuclear power. We need to plant trees. We need to manage our farms better. We need direct air capture. I think we probably need it all.
We have to start really looking at what can scale up and be maintained for decades, if not centuries. That's the challenge here, but it's an incredibly important challenge.
15 years ago, no one would have predicted that the emissions in developed countries around the world would be dropping. Not fast enough yet. And that gives me hope and should give everyone hope that with a combined might of human ingenuity, we can actually solve this problem.
Prevod Polona Mertel, zvokovna obdelava Marjan Drobnič, bral Igor Velše. Thank you.